Okay, tonight I'm going to talk about a favorite topic of mine that isn't necessarily scripture. I'm not going to be reading from the Bible tonight. I'm going to just be speaking about what's on my mind after a lot of research on my topic. It's a topic that I know a lot about as a finance professional, as a former day trader, and as someone that actually watches the markets probably more than I should. But I watch the markets every day, and even at night when the Asian markets kick off, I know a lot about the markets. I'd be willing to bet, and this is probably my pride speaking, but I probably know more about the markets than even the paid professionals that are managing millions to billions of dollars. I really feel like I have immersed myself in research since August 2011 on topics like stocks and bonds, commodities, and my specialty is gold and silver, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. And at work, I'm actually known as the silver guy, not just because of my silver hair, but because of just always talking about silver. So the talk tonight is why silver, and I'm going to say this, and I say this very boldly and very passionately. Silver is the investment of the century. Silver is the investment of our lifetime. Silver is the best investment you can ever make right now. I'll give the asterisk that I'm not a financial salesman. I'm not making money off of silver. I'm not advising people necessarily on silver. I'm simply stating and sharing my knowledge that I personally believe that physical silver is the best investment you can make. I want to correct a couple lies. One of my favorite things to do is to go through Yahoo Finance or CNN Money articles and bring up an article about the Federal Reserve or banks or whatever, and just dissect it and look for the truth and look for the lies in the articles. And there's not a lot of truth left, okay? Most articles you see on finance are propaganda, okay? The whole system is designed to keep you in that system. And what I mean by that is banks don't want you taking money out of banks. Traders and financial brokers don't want you taking money out of their mutual funds, out of their stock funds. They want you in the system. When you buy gold or silver, actual gold or silver, you are taking money out of the system and into something real. And the more money in the thing's real, the less money in the system and the less control and power they have if they still own your money in the system. So Bill Holter is a hero of mine. I wish I could say he's my mentor. I really like him. He publishes daily articles on silver. I followed him for years. You can look him up with Google, Bill Holter, Holter, if you want to read him. I've really become hooked on his articles. And he has a saying called GOTS, G-O-T-S, get out of the system. I think that message is applicable to anybody. If you're wondering of what's going on in the markets, the volatility, the fact that the Federal Reserve won't raise rates, which, by the way, I called. I knew on Tuesday of last week before the Wednesday meeting, I told everybody in the office they will not raise rates. And the very next day, I actually gave the headline for them, and I said they will not raise rates due to volatility in the marketplace. And pretty much the very next day, they decided not to raise rates, which was only going to be 0.25%, by the way. And the next day, the headline was pretty much exactly what I said. Now, it's not that difficult to predict. If they haven't raised rates in the last 6 years, they're probably not going to raise rates at all. In fact, they can't. And I don't want to steal any Bill Holter's thunder. He's written a lot of very well eloquent articles on why they never will raise rates. And I'm simply reciting to some extent what he says. But I want to urgently and passionately sell the fact that you need to get out of the system. When you have money in the system, you don't really own it. Unless it's yours and it's in possession, you really don't own it. And we're so used to thinking about the dollar as an asset, it's really an IOU, which is a liability. Money is only created through debt. Okay, I could spend an hour talking about that, but you need to understand that. Money, or new money, is only created through additional borrowings or debt. For there to be more dollars into existence, somebody had to borrow that money. Okay, you can only borrow money for so long, and you eventually have to pay it back with interest. So because of the interest, there is never enough money at any given time to pay off the debt plus the interest. So you have to keep piling on the debt. So we've seen that in the commercial sector, we've seen that in the private sector, and at the government sector. Most specifically the government sector. We actually have a money bubble right now in the government sector where the national debt is over $18 trillion. We are getting to a point where mathematically it is impossible, or we're actually already there, it is mathematically impossible to pay. So, $18 trillion of debt, 6 billion total ounces of gold available for demand. There's over 6 billion people in the world. So if we had a perfect communist system and everybody had the same amount of money and our money was all backed by gold, there would be essentially 1 ounce of gold for every person on earth. That's not a whole lot of gold. Today, you can actually go out and buy an ounce of gold for about $1,200. That counts the premium needed to buy from the dealer, which is totally appropriate. It's totally appropriate to pay 5-10% as a premium to get the real stuff. The dealers have to stay in business as well. I have no problem paying that premium. By premium, I basically mean if gold is traded at $1,100 an ounce on the COMEX, which by the way is a fraud, then expect to pay a little bit more at a coin dealer because they have to make their margins, and that's fine. Anyway, there's only about 1 ounce of gold available for investment for everyone on earth. For silver, okay, which is a 74th of gold, there's something called the GSR, the gold-silver ratio, and right now it's about 74-1. So it takes 74 ounces of silver to equal in value 1 ounce of gold. There's only 2 billion ounces of silver out there. So there's actually a third less silver in investment form than there is gold, but yet it is a 74th of the price. Do you understand now why silver is the investment of a lifetime? You can actually buy an ounce of silver for essentially 2 McDonald's combo meals. Think about that. To get an ounce of silver out of the ground requires a ton of capital, a ton of energy, a ton of human labor, maintenance, machinery, depreciation, a lot of expense, chemicals, solvents, water, just to mine 1 ounce. And then you got to take that ounce and you got to put it into a coin form. You have to mint it, you have to distribute it, you have to sell it, you have to package it, you have to, again, distribute it to the consumer, and yet you can buy an ounce of silver for about $20. It is absolutely the cheapest thing on earth. In Roman times, they would pay the Roman soldiers 1/10 of an ounce of silver for every day of work. So if you equate, let's say, $15, which is where it's at on the COMEX right now as of September 21st, think about that. Who in their right mind would work a full day, 8 to 12 hour day, for 1/10 of 15 or $1.50? It's ludicrous. So silver has been money since 2500 BC. That's when the civilian population of Sumeria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, all those other countries started taking off. That's when humans have been using silver for the last 4,500 years. And in Roman times, 2,000 years ago, it was worth $1.50 for a day of labor. It doesn't make sense. I fully think that silver could go north of $100 very quickly. What it would take for that to happen is for the COMEX to default. I'm not even going to start to talk about that. Just go to Google and type in COMEX default, and you'll see how the inventory, the actual physical inventory of what's being traded is coming down. We are now at levels of silver being traded of 100-1, meaning that the COMEX determines the price of silver through a futures exchange, and that number of electronic trading, paper trading, is 100 to every 1 ounce of real silver. It's getting ready to basically blow up. And when it does, if you have physical silver in possession, I think we'll easily see over $100 an ounce. Yeah, some people think I'm crazy for that. I have been saying that for a while. I thought it was going to happen at the end of last year based on what Harvey Orkin said, and it didn't happen, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. And as a lot of folks say that follow silver and are into this sort of thing, they always say that you'd rather be a couple years early than 1 day late. And I think we're getting dangerously close to folks not getting on board and being a day late. And paper wealth will evaporate, can evaporate overnight. Silver can't. So I would encourage you, this isn't from the Lord, this isn't from Scripture, although I can point in Scripture how silver was used as money, and gold obviously is in heaven and is valuable and always will be valuable. And I personally think that God created gold and silver to be used as money. Gold and silver are the best conduit of money. They fit all the properties of money. And I think that that's why they were created. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not to worship gold and silver. We're not to make idols of it. But it does have an important place, and it's not cheating the system. and using the fiat currency, which is really theft. It's a hidden theft. It's something that we don't talk about, but inflation is a hidden theft, and it's a hidden tax. And at the end of the day, it's sin. It's evil. And I think the leaders that set up a wicked system that benefits the powerful and the elite, that rule the banks, the banksters, if you want to call them that, I think that they will stand before God and they will be judged. But as Christians and as prudent people, we need to research things and take action. And on the financial front, I do feel like I do know what I'm talking about. I have put money where my mouth is, so to say. And I wouldn't go crazy necessarily, but I think it's smart to diversify and to at least get some silver and gold in possession before everything blows up. And I don't mean to scare you, but I do think that that's coming very soon, and I wish you the best.